no gold is not enough.
Hello, good day. I'm Mr. Christopher Padlan and welcome to my ed vlog. So this is actually my very first educational vlog and I'm quite nervous. I'm still not used to this, but I'm excited and I'm happy because I would be at help for my students, and not only to my students but to every student who are actually in need. So I would like to give you a short information about myself. I'm actually a secondary school teacher at Mabalbayo National High School, and I'm teaching English subject for grade 8 and grade 10. And probably you're wondering or you're asking why ed vlog, why educational vlog, why pursue ed vlog and not the other kinds of vlog. It's because it is not actually planned. I'm hesitant at first, but because our principal encouraged us to prepare learning materials not just in print, but to prepare learning materials in videos so that it would supplement somehow the learnings of our students. I was encouraged, and I thought that yeah, probably it's something that would really speak about the mandate of the Department of Education, which is to deliver quality education. So I will be enjoying this journey, so I hope that you will be joining me until the end. And before we proceed to the lesson proper, I would just like to say that I hope you would become understanding for any noise that you might be hearing. And even if I'm wearing my uniform, the conduct of this lecture would not be as formal as probably you'll be expecting. So let's just have fun and let's just learn, and let's just enjoy this video. Okay, so let's proceed. Let me start this with reading to you the MELC, or the most essential learning competency. Determine the meaning of words, expressions that reflect the logical culture by noting context clues. So with that, I have these KUD objectives, which are to identify important words which are keys in understanding the literature. Second, to transform the important words and expressions into relevant meanings using context clues. And the third one is to employ the SIFT method that uses context clues in understanding the literature. Okay. So let's have our springboard session. This is one of my favorite thing that I do before I study a literature, which is author's background. So before we study the literature, I try to have research first with the author's background. By the way, our lesson for today is, as you see in the title, is Africa by David Diop. Okay, so we proceed to the author's background. So who is David Diop? David Diop. Okay. Please pardon me, or please forgive me. I cannot really find a free picture of David Diop, but you can search it in the internet, so you can so that you can have a picture of him. So. Okay, so let's get to know David Diop even more. So David Diop was inspired by his grandmother's songs about Africa. So we can actually say here that Diop was heavily inspired by his grandmother about his love and patriotism about his native country. And at the same time, he was inspired by a song, or songs rather. And next one, it says there that at the age of 15 years old, he started writing and publishing his poems. 15 is grade 8, I think, or grade 9, and I believe that is, just imagine, as a grade 8 or grade 9, you'd be able, you're able to write, not just only write, but to publish your poems. So that is, I think, a remarkable achievement. And another thing that is remarkable about David Diop is he's known to be a revolutionary poet. Next is, it says here, one of the most promising French West African poets. So we can actually say here that Mr. David Diop is already a French citizen, although he originated from, or his origin came from Africa. Actually, Mr. David Diop was born and raised in France. Although he was born and raised in France, he never forgets his origin. He is known to be an active revolutionary poet, and a promulgator, not just promulgator, but the one who actually pushed negritude literary movement. So what is negritude literary movement? Negritude literary movement is a movement that speaks about the negative things brought by colonialism and, of course, the assimilation. Next, it says here, his works often showed African problems. In Africa, the most evident or the most known African problem is all about slavery, and all sorts of other problems is actually produced from it. So Mr. David Diop talks about the oppressors, the people who are oppressed, and about the effects of colonialism. So next. So for this literature, Africa by David Diop, we'll be using SIFT method. So I'll just be writing SIFT on my whiteboard. So that we cannot forget. Can you see that? Or is that mirrored to you? And you can read that as SIFT. Anyway, so SIFT. So for SIFT, it is an acronym actually of symbols, imagery, figurative language, and tone and theme. So we'll be discussing that one by one. So by using SIFT, we will be able to analyze a literature. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, so let's start with symbol. So symbol in literature, so how we're going to do this, we will be finding symbols in the literature in order to analyze the meaning of it, or if it has a deeper meaning. So we can actually find an object, a person, or a place. So this object, person, or place could have, or that has meaning within itself, but stands for something else in the context of the story. We could actually interpret it in its meaning within itself, but it has a deeper meaning in the story. So we need to be vigilant, or we need to be keen on looking for symbols, because there are a lot in literatures, there are a lot of symbols that are used, and when we find that, we will be able to understand the literature in a different way. Next, we have imagery. So for imagery, when an image is evoked through the use of really descriptive language, and for imagery, basically we'll be using our senses, our sense of sight. So the description or the way or the manner words or an idea or a concept is being describe is with the use of senses. That's why it's called imagery, because we can actually imagine it by using our senses. So with the use of sense of sight, and sense of smell, sense of sense of taste, of course, our hearing and touch. So for this imagery, we'll be able to it would help us to analyze and to appreciate even more a literature. Next, we have also the figurative language. So here it includes and not limited to simile, metaphor. So these are few examples, but there are many more kinds of figurative language, but we only state here simile, metaphor, hyperbole, repetition, alliteration, and among others. So F for figurative language. Let's look for figurative language used in a literature so that we can actually understand it better. Next. Okay, mag-next. Ala, ayaw tanong. Mag-next sa akin. Next. Ayun, okay na. Ito, okay na. So, next is tone and theme. So, tone is the attitude of the author takes on the subject he or she is writing about. And while theme is the plot plus tone. Basically, at first you will be probably having a hard time differentiating tone from theme and even for the mood. So let us be clear about it. So for tone, it is something that how an author feel, or what an author feels about the subject, while mood is something that you feel, or what the author wants you to feel, or what you feel for the subject. And theme is something that deals with showing to us the meaning of what is being shown, and or together with the meaning that the author wants to actually say to us. So that's the theme. That's why it's plus plot plus tone. Okay. So we need the author's feeling in order to understand the theme of a text, not just to understand how the story goes or the plot, but also what the author wants us to learn. Next, we also we start na with the poem. So Africa by David Diop. So let me read it for you. Africa, my Africa, Africa of proud warriors in ancestral savannas, Africa of whom my grandmother sings. Okay, so again, let me repeat it. Africa, my Africa, Africa of proud warriors in ancestral savannas, Africa of whom my grandmother sings. So again, let's try to observe this slide, and let's try to apply SIFT. So can we find symbols? Can we find imagery? Can we find figurative language, or can we find tone here? What do you think? Okay, so let's proceed to the question. For this one, it says here, how would you describe Africa based on the poem's first 3 lines? For you, how are you going to describe Africa based from the first 3 lines shown? So let us have the first 3 lines again. So any idea? So let us have first the SIFT. So what particular part of the SIFT is applied here in this first 3 lines of the poem. If you say symbol, can we see symbol there? I cannot see symbols, but probably you can comment down on the comment box if you see symbols there. How about imagery? Can you say imagery there? Nope, can't see imagery. So again, if in case you see something that I did not see, you can comment it down so that we can have a good discussion about this lesson. At the same time, I would be able to improve this lesson further. Okay, so we don't have symbol, we don't have imagery. How about figurative language? Figurative language. It does not have figurative language. Does have a figurative language? Yes, meron siyang figurative language. Yung repetition siya ng vowels, yung A. Actually, hindi lang vowels buong word. So, Africa, my Africa. So, the first line has the word Africa. The first word in the first line is Africa. For the second line, Africa of proud warriors in ancestral savannas. Again, it has the word Africa. And the third one, it has Africa again. And it's on the third line. The first word of the third line is Africa. So this kind of figurative language is not alliteration. I think it's this what we call anaphora. So anaphora. So we have this what we call anaphora. So at first I thought it was alliteration, but when I know that there's another term called for this kind of setup in poetry. So I searched about it and I found out that this is an example of anaphora. So it applies anaphora, which is a figurative language. So aside from that, it is very evident that there is repetition. So in repetition, the purpose of repetition is to basically to emphasize something, and we can actually get that from this first 3 lines of the poem that there is an emphasis of how David Diop really admire or how dear to him the country Africa. So let's proceed. Okay. On the banks of the distant river, I have never known you, but your blood flows in my veins. Okay, so the process question is, what idea does the word distant in the 4th line convey? So let's check it out. Okay, so let's go back on the lines. On the banks of the distant river, I have never known you, but your blood flows in my veins. So let us apply again the SIFT method. So can we see symbols there? Yes, basically the word distant. Distant symbolizes the kind of situation of the author, right? He's basically far from Africa because he is living in France on the banks of the distant river. I have never known you. So it would mean that even if he is far from his native land and he has never known personally his native land, it says this line, but your blood flows in my veins. So it says there that it means that still they have this special connection, or Mr. David Diop has still this special connection towards his homeland because he was really originated, or he originates from Africa. So how about imagery? Can you say image? Can we see imagery there? No, I can't see any imagery. How about figurative language? I have never known you. Your blood flows in my veins. I don't see any figurative language. How about tone and theme? I've never known you, but your blood flows in my veins. So I don't see any significant tone or theme for this one. So, but if you have seen imagery, figurative language, tone and theme, you can comment it down. Next. Your beautiful black blood that irrigates the fields, the blood of your sweat, the sweat of your work, and the work of your slavery. So let us try to find out, or let us apply again the SIFT. So can you see symbols there? Yes, I think the word black blood. There's no such thing as black blood, but it could mean race, right? How about blood of your sweat? Is it a symbolism? Sweat of your work, or work of your slavery? So I think that's the symbolism there, the black blood. How about imagery? Can you see imagery there? I think we can see imagery from the line, the sweat of your work, right? We can actually apply there our sense of touch. So we know how to feel sweaty, right? Or how our skin actually feels like when we are sweating. So from there we can actually have this idea of what this line is referring to, the sweat of your work. And how about figurative language? And the tone and theme. So if we don't have anything more, we proceed to the next slide. Africa, tell me Africa, is this your back that is unbent? This back that breaks under the weight of humiliation, this back trembling with red scars and saying yes to the whip under the midday sun. So what does the author urge the black people to stand up for? Okay, so let us try to go back again to those lines. Okay, so again, let's go back to the lines. Africa, tell me Africa, is this your back that is unbent? So again, the process question is what does the author, or what was the author wants to what was the author urging the African people? So as you can see from this line, Africa, tell me Africa, is this your back that is unbent? We can somehow get it that it transitioned from telling a narrative story from the beginning of the poem to something more pushy, or something more, what do you call this, assertive. So from the words tell me, using that particular line or using those words may imply being assertive. So what does the author is actually urging the African people? So let's try to find out if it will be revealed from the second slide, the next slide. This back that breaks under the weight of humiliation, this back trembling with red scars and saying yes to the whip under the midday sun. So let us try to apply SIFT. Can we see symbols there? I think we can actually see symbols here from the words red scars. It probably would mean red scars, but at the same time it could mean the pains, right? These are the symbols for pains. And saying yes to the whip, saying yes to the whip under the midday sun. Okay. So before I proceed to that, let me go first with under the weight of humiliation. Under the weight of humiliation, we can actually say that this line, actually the first slide, this line and saying yes to the whip under the midday sun is implying a figurative language, right? So what particular figurative language is applied into these lines? If your answer is irony, that's correct. If it gives you the feel, not just the feel, the text actually wants us to understand that there's an irony on it. There's a sarcasm on how African actually try to accept slavery, try to accept the kind of things being done by the oppressors to them. So I think these slides, the other one, the first slide that I have shown you, in this line that was next to it, shows or wants to imply, wants to urge to stand up for saying that slavery is already enough and is something that they don't really deserve, that Africans don't really deserve, and that they must stand up for it, fight for their freedom, and fight for humane treatments that must be done to them. Next, up there. But a grave voice answers me, impetuous child at tree, young and strong. So can we see, let's apply again SIFT method here. Can we see symbols? Voice answers me, impetuous child at tree, young and strong. Yes, there is, right? The tree. What does it mean kaya? Okay, so we go to the next one, which is imagery. Is there an imagery there? I don't think so that there is an imagery there. How about figurative language? There is, right? Oh, what is your guess? It is actually personification. It says there, but a grave voice answers me. Of course, a voice will not answer you. It's the person. So it gives an impact to how this poem is made. So there is a figurative language. How about the tone and theme? Is there a tone and theme? Okay, so we have there the tree. So what does it mean, the tree? So I think it's better to check the next slide first before we go to the meaning of the tree. The tree over there, splendidly alone amidst white and faded flowers. That is your Africa springing up anew. Okay, so what can we say in these lines? Let's try to see if there are symbols. Are there symbols in there? I think there is. I think the words white and faded flowers are symbols. So we can check that out after this slide. Is there any imagery? Imagery, I don't see any imagery. How about figurative language? Okay, so we see symbolisms. How about tone and theme? I don't see any tone and theme either. So let's try to look at the next slide. So we have tree and white and faded flowers. Springing up patiently, obstinate, whose fruit bit by bit acquires the bitter taste of liberty. So symbols here. I think there is a symbol. How about imagery? There is an imagery, right? The bitter taste of liberty. So the sense of taste. So it doesn't really actually mean about there's a bitter taste of being liberated, but rather we can actually say that, of course, many Africans can relate to this, that their freedom, that their liberty has a lot of sacrifices, and remembering those sacrifices instead of celebrating it gives you more, or it makes you more sad. That's why states there that the bitter taste of liberty. So springing up patiently, obstinate, whose fruit bit by bit acquires. Okay, so let's try to look at the next slide. Africa by David Diop, who may be referred to by the following: tree and white and faded flowers. So this is what I'm saying. So the tree and white faded flowers has meaning. Okay, so what does it mean? Can we check the next slide? But a grave voice answers me, impetuous child, that tree, young and strong. Tree could mean the Africans or the Africa. It could be impetuous child. Probably he or she doesn't really know yet fully what his or her right, because he's young but he's strong. It gives us the hope that this tree over there, splendidly alone amidst white and faded flowers, that is your Africa springing up anew. So this slide speaks about, or this whole line speaks about giving hope that African people, they can actually grow and they can actually free themselves from slavery, because they are strong, they're independent, and that they can do it. It is just states here that white and faded flowers. So what does it mean? They can stand alone, and they can be independent. And when that it will only happen when the colonizers will let them be, and let them have their own life. Okay, so it says there, that is your Africa springing up anew, springing up patiently, obstinate, whose fruit bit by bit acquires the bitter taste of liberty. So again, freeing yourself from colonizers is not really easy. It is a process, and it will start if people will recognize themselves. But at the end, it ends really, it really hits you hard that, of course, achieving that is needs sacrifices.
Okay, so we're about to end our lesson for today. So let's go to the reality check. So what can we actually apply in real life from the lessons that we have learned from this literature? So what can we learn from David Diop about his patriotism for his native land? Are you patriotic? Do you love your country? Or in reality, are Filipinos still love their country? How about you? Do you still love your country? How can you show your love to your country? So I'll leave you with this question: how did the poem appeal to you as a person? So with that, please comment your answer in the comment box, and see you on our next video. So I would like to end this with acknowledging some students. Shout out now. Okay, so again, I would like to say hi to my former students, or to my students. Let me just have my list. Have a good day to Mary Ann Layakan, a former student of mine, GAS A. Bianca Urbano, APG. Shaira Bartolo, Presi, hello. John Cedric, these are my current students na. Hello John Cedric. And Meryl Alcantara, Monica Makaraeg, Presi, Evelyn Malikdam, my current student also. Althea Cancino, so my former student from MCD. Jonalyn Binyahan, my present student. Sheena May Rosario, CRP. Hello Sheena. Geraldine Fernandez, another student of mine. Giselle Castro, CRP. Marjorie Fernandez, LFG. Rhea Alcantara, APG. Rosario Janalyn, CRP. Diana Rose Ramos, ganda. Lagyan ko doon ng ganda to si Diana. Hello. Daniela Alcantara, our chess queen. Hello. Good luck to your college, to your next journey in college. And Michelle Aquino, CRP. Hello anak. Valerie Kayabyab. And meron pa ba? May kalimutan pa ako. Wala na. So that's it for today. So see you on my next educational vlog, ed vlogs. Goodbye. Peace out.
And I'll go